The power of a poker face. Leadership's most dangerous skill. Welcome to the series Break Free from Vantage Aditya. There is a place where a single blink can cost millions. A table. Cards face down. Faces even more guarded. In that world, the game is not about the cards. It is about control. Because the moment a player reacts, the game is no longer hidden. This is where the idea of a poker face was born, not as a personality trait, but as a survival mechanism, to hide intent, to distort perception, to control outcomes without speaking. And what happens at that table quietly repeats itself in boardrooms every single day. Because leadership is also a game of incomplete information, and the one who reveals less controls more. But here is what most people miss. This is not just behavior. This is psychology. Deep, uncomfortable, predictable psychology. And once one sees it, it cannot be unseen. First, control creates authority. The first person who reacts loses control. A leader walks into a tense room. Numbers are down. Expectations are broken. One leader reacts instantly. The jaw tightens. The voice sharpens. Frustration leaks out. And in that moment, something subtle happens. The room stops respecting and starts managing. Because psychologically, humans associate emotional volatility with lack of control. The brain reads it as risk. Now imagine another leader. Same situation, same pressure, but the face remains still. No visible anger, no immediate judgment, just observation. And suddenly, the room shifts. Because calmness triggers something deep. It signals safety. It signals stability. It signals dominance without aggression. People slow down. They become more careful, more precise. Because the brain interprets calm authority as higher status. Authority is not created by reaction. It is created by emotional restraint. And here is the part most don't notice. The calmer the leader, the more others regulate themselves, without being told. Second, information is power. Every reaction is a leak. A proposal is presented, unexpected, high stakes, and for a fraction of a second, the eyes widen. That is enough. Because the human brain is designed to detect micro-expressions. Even when people don't consciously notice, they feel it. And once they feel it, they adjust. Interest, surprise, opportunity. Now the balance shifts. Because psychologically, humans exploit visible preference. They push harder where they sense desire. Now imagine the same moment, with no reaction. The face stays neutral, the eyes steady, silence. And now something uncomfortable begins. The other side starts guessing, and the human brain hates uncertainty. So it tries to resolve it by talking more, by adjusting the offer, by revealing intent. When you reveal nothing, you force others to reveal everything. Because uncertainty creates pressure, and pressure creates disclosure. Third, silence makes others talk. Silence is not empty. It is engineered discomfort. A question is asked, then nothing. No nodding, no reassurance, no interruption, just a steady presence. Seconds pass. and the brain of the other person starts reacting. Because silence triggers a psychological response. It creates cognitive dissonance. The mind begins asking, did I say something wrong? Are they judging me? Should I clarify? And to resolve that discomfort, the person speaks again. They explain more. They justify more. They reveal more, often without realizing. Because silence activates the need for validation, and humans cannot sit in that gap for long. The one who controls silence controls the flow of truth. And here is the twist. The leader did nothing, and yet learned everything. Fourth, emotional control prevents damage. A single reaction can echo for months. A team member speaks, an idea is presented, and for a brief second, a smirk appears, or a sigh, or a flicker of dismissal. It is small, almost invisible, but the brain of the other person captures it instantly, because humans are wired for social survival. They constantly scan for approval or rejection, and that micro-reaction feels like rejection. The brain stores it, associates risk, and adjusts behavior. The next time, that person speaks less, not because they lack ideas, but because they are avoiding emotional pain. Now imagine the same moment. No reaction, just listening. A pause, then a measured response. Even if the idea is rejected, the person feels respected, because psychologically, it is not rejection that hurts. It is disrespect. Control of expression protects psychological safety. And where safety exists, performance follows. Fifth, strategic mystery builds power. Predictable leaders are easy to manage. If people can read you, they can map you. Triggers, preferences, weaknesses, and once mapped, you can be influenced. Because the brain seeks patterns. It learns quickly, and then uses that learning to predict outcomes. But when a leader becomes unreadable, the pattern breaks, and the brain struggles. It cannot predict. It cannot prepare fully. So it compensates by over-preparing, by over-analyzing, by being cautious. Because uncertainty increases perceived risk, and perceived risk increases attention. Mystery forces effort. Predictability invites shortcuts. And here is the twist. The leader says less, but commands more. Sixth, better decisions are made in stillness. Emotion moves faster than logic. A situation unfolds, unexpected, uncomfortable, and the brain reacts instantly, because it is designed for speed, not accuracy. Fight, flight, react. But when the face reacts, the decision follows that same path. Fast, biased, incomplete. Now imagine restraint. The face remains still. The reaction is paused, and something critical happens. The brain shifts from emotional processing to cognitive processing, from reaction to evaluation. Time expands, options appear, consequences become visible. A pause in expression creates a pause in thinking, and in that pause, better decisions are born, because clarity requires space. Seventh, it protects your negotiation edge. Negotiation is not about speaking. It is about controlling perception. An offer is placed on the table. Numbers, terms, implications, and the smallest reaction can shift leverage. Because humans constantly look for signals: approval, discomfort, excitement, and once detected, they adjust strategy instantly. Push harder, pull back, reframe. Now imagine no signal, no approval, no resistance, just neutrality. And suddenly, the other side loses feedback. And without feedback, they lose confidence. Because the brain depends on response loops. Without them, it becomes uncertain. And uncertainty weakens position. The one who gives no signals forces the other side to doubt theirs. Eighth, the danger of over-control. Now, the hidden cost. Control, without expression, becomes distance. A leader who never reacts becomes emotionally invisible. And the brain of the team begins to interpret. Do they care? Do they notice? Do they value? Because humans need emotional cues to feel connection. Without them, the brain fills the gap, often negatively. Detachment, coldness, disinterest, even if none of it is true. Absence of expression is still interpreted as meaning. And here is the twist. Silence is never neutral. It is always decoded. Ninth, the real mastery. Controlled transparency. Great leaders do not suppress emotion. They sequence it. In high-stakes moments, they hold. In human moments, they reveal. Because psychology works both ways. Control builds authority. Expression builds connection. And leadership requires both. The leader chooses when to stay unreadable, when to be fully visible. Because emotion, when timed right, builds trust, builds loyalty, builds belief. The goal is not to hide emotion. The goal is to deploy it. 10th, the final truth. There are leaders who try to control situations, and then there are leaders who control themselves. Because once that is mastered, situations begin to follow. A poker face is not about being cold. It is about being deliberate. It is about understanding that every expression is information, is influence, is power. And in a world where everyone is trying to be seen, the ones who control what is seen control everything. And the most dangerous part, they do it without saying a word.